But that's part of what corruption does. And you see, if you look at these guys who have these private jets, let's see the number of jobs that were created from what you did that made you so rich. Nothing. And so that, because if there were quality jobs created by people who got rich, and rich is not a problem, then there's a big middle class emerging, quality of life improves, and they become the buffer in society because of, you know, what has happened to them on the path of those people's journey to wealth. But when these people have not really created any wealth, have essentially been rent seekers who have created roadblocks in the system and extracted money, then you create those kinds of inequalities that lead ultimately to violence and society being in bigger trouble than we would want it to be.
But ultimately, you, at the start of your response, you talked about strategy.
Yeah.
And quite a number of people who are probably outside looking in talk about the fact that it appears as if the strategy was not completely well thought out.
I would say that I am not the biggest fan of some of the strategies that have been deployed. I am more interested, first and foremost, not so much in calling people names or even arresting people you should arrest. There's some people who say, just show example, jailing number of big men. That's maybe useful. I'm saying, how do we prevent those opportunities from arising for people? By essentially reducing discretion in public choice and having institutions that set boundaries such that people don't go outside of those boundaries in conduct. Those are very, very important. And then if people cross those boundaries, show example of those people. But I think that we invest so much in trying to catch the thief and very little in trying to prevent theft. And at least for me, in terms of strategy, that I would approach it. And then in developing people who are placed in positions of trust to recognize the value of that trust. It affects them and the way they engage in things. We also, I think, need to raise the basis of, if you will, what's the right word to use now? Prestige in society. Prestige has been reduced in the Nigerian space to something that's available only to politicians. Everybody wants to become a politician because nothing happens until the politician shows up. It's nonsense. In many societies, a good, well-respected civil servant shows up at an event, a PAMSEC in India. The politicians go to one corner. You know, a general in India shows up. Yes, it's prestige. So people want to be chief executive of companies, want to be permanent secretaries, they want to be generals, they want to be... In Nigeria, you just want to be a politician. And so people get so desperate, they do all kinds of inappropriate things to become, quote-unquote, successful politicians. And so we compound the problem of corruption in the system. There are a number of things that I think are important that we could do to change the strategy on... Incidentally, when President Obasanjo was elected, he set up a panel, what Americans will call a Blue Ribbon Commission, to look at the institutions of integrity in government. And I had the remarkable fortune of chairing it. You know, you had DIGs of police, Manufacturing Association, Commerce, Chamber, all of this. Plenty of work, done over months. I don't know what happened to that report.
Along with a number of other reports. Ultimately, of course, the story was that at some point you were to be brought into government, but you had to turn it down.
Well, let's not go back into history and some of those things.
Well, it's important. I raise it because there was an important lesson you wanted people to draw, which I read, which was that it's not about individual geniuses or performance, it's the team. That if the team is wrong, no individual can stand
up. I can tell the story of this that is the most vivid when President Yaradua wanted me to join his team. And I said to him, it's not about me. It's really, do you have a team of committed, passionately committed, competent people who will make a difference? And he was very insistent. Oh, what, if you come, why don't that's part of it? You can do more from inside. So, okay, get me 7 good people. I said, okay, why don't you select those 7 good people? Of course, the story, as it goes, was nobody's sure whether the list I sent ever reached him. But people are looking to be in positions. Look, the greatest people who have made the most difference, many of them never held any position. That's why one of the biggest things we do from CVL is what we call the LWT, the Leader Without Title series. You say India, who's the first person you think of? Gandhi. He never held a position in India. And so this obsession with position, I think what's more important is, are we really leaders? Are we changing the lives of our people from where we are? Do we have enough commitment, a sense of service to people? Do we have enough knowledge? Because if you don't have knowledge and a sense of service, you can't lead.
Let me take you to something related, the economy. A lot of people say that the politics can't get better until the economy gets better, that the economy empowers people to invest in the economy. Although there are others who argue, of course, that the politics is what determines whether the economy gets moving or not. First, I'm going to ask you what you make of that argument. That's first.
Yeah, the catch-22 thing.
Yeah.
Chicken or egg. The truth for me is that it's really ultimately about how you build institutions to allow certain things to happen. I'll give you an example. Nigerian democracy is a bit of a mess because the people who will determine who will vote perhaps don't have capacity to know what there is to do. And so the reason that if with 500 naira they vote some way is because they don't know how much damage that will do to their life. They don't realize it. If you look at how the American democracy evolved, it wasn't one man, one vote day one. It was only propertied people who could vote. And having property meant having a certain level of understanding of how society runs. And progressively. Neil Ferguson, the great British historian, looks at the 1787 Constitution, I think, of the United States of America, writing as perhaps one of the most profound efforts in institution building in human history. And I think it is because that process looked at the challenges of a democratic process. I think that, and I'm not suggesting that we forget one man, one vote and all of that, because we are where we are. But
well, you've already made the point that really it's not one man, one vote.
It isn't anyway. Yes, it isn't.